video I'm going to show you how to produce this beautiful verdigris type of effect. This particular one has been done onto glass, but you can do it on any type of 3D object or indeed onto cardboard. So in this case we're going to be decorating a glass jar. Now this particular glass jar has already got some moulded detail on that I've stuck on, and then what I did, I used a gesso over the entire base, and then once that was dry I then painted with black acrylic paint. Now the first thing I'm going to be doing is using a paint like Treasure Gold to just go over the entire jar. Now you don't have to be very accurate where you actually come to the painting, and make sure that the Treasure Gold in this case is watered down so it doesn't give you that perfect finish. So I'm just going to grab some onto our glass mat like so, and then I'm just going to spray some water on just to water that down a little bit, and then we can start getting busy onto our jar. Like I say, it hasn't got to be perfect because the overall effect is like of an aged look, so don't worry about any brush strokes showing at this particular stage. So just go all the way around your jar, like I say, using the watered down Treasured Gold or similar type of paint that you may have in your crafting stash. So I'm just going, like I say, over there. If you find it starting to run out, then just pop some more onto your glass mat and then just give it a quick spray with some more water. So again, just twist that round and then just apply straight onto there. I'm using quite a wide brush just for speed, and like I say, because you don't really need to worry too much about the brush strokes in this instant, it doesn't really matter what size brush you're going to be using. So that's the glass jar done. Okay, and then let me just go over that so I can see some black parts showing there. Doesn't matter if it's too much, but that was quite a large area of black. So there we go, that's the sort of coverage that you're going to want. Then I'm just going to pop my brush into the water jar, and then just using a heat tool I'm just going to speed up the process a little bit. So once that is fully dry, and like I say, you've got a pretty good coverage of the paint there, don't worry about where the black is showing through, because like I said, it is going to be a very uneven, like aged finish to it. So we're going to pop that aside just for the moment, and then we're going to concentrate on getting this sort of colour in some paint. So I've just got a palette here, and then I'm going to use some turquoise colour paint. So just pop that into there. I'm also going to add a little bit of green into there as well. Okay, and then a little bit of black. We're going to then mix it all together. So just a little bit of black to start with. So just using a small brush for the time being, just start to mix that in. And then you can add some other colours to it if you should so wish, if you want it darker or lighter. Let's just bring our original one back in that I did, and as you can see the colour is pretty good there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because we've got to cover all of that in a few layers, I'm just going to add a little bit more of all of those colours that we used. So again, just a little bit of the green, a little bit of the turquoise, and then some more of the black as well. And that should be enough to do the entire project. Okay, so like we did before, just mix that in until you get a nice consistency of colour throughout the whole of the mix. So into that mix we're just going to add a little bit of water. Okay, and then we're going to start painting our jar. So you can use the large brush if you wish, but because I've got the Small brush already loaded, I'm just going directly into that. As you can see, I'm actually covering pretty much a lot of the original colouring that was there. But once it actually dries, that will actually start to show through, so don't worry too much at the moment. So again, just make sure you go into all the nooks and crannies there of the moulded area, and you'll be good to go. Now just go on to the bottom part of the jar, and once again, once that's been fully painted, then just use a heat tool just to dry that off and to speed up the process. So to get a lighter colour of the green, just grab some of our verdigris colour and just pop that in the centre panel there of our palette, and then just quite simply we're just going to add some white acrylic paint to the mix. Okay, let's just give that a little bit of a squeeze like so. Okay, and then just give that a mix. So that's the sort of colour that we're going to want. Okay. Like we did before, once you've actually mixed all the colour in, so just make sure you've got plenty of it in there and it's all just one colour. Then just use some water, just going to spray that in there just to water the paint down a little bit. Okay, and then we're just going to apply that, but this time we're going to use a sponge brush. Okay, and then just go directly onto there like so. Okay, so just go straight onto what you've already done. Again, make sure you get into near enough all those nooks and crannies so you've got pretty good coverage. If it starts to dry up your paint, just add a little bit more water. So you really do want that quite well watered down. Okay, so just twist that round and just dab that on. So although there's not much of the original copper showing through, there's just glimpses of it, and that's the sort of look, the exact look that you're going to want. So you can see now the verdigris type look is coming through quite nicely. You can still see glints of the original copper underneath, which is great. So now what you need to do is just have a look and maybe just go over a couple of the areas that you consider to be a little bit too light or too shiny, showing that original copper on there, but it's entirely up to you where you dab. Again, the more random the better it's going to be. So just go into those areas until you're happy with the overall look. So again, grab some of your original mix and just pop that into the centre part there. Okay, like so. Just make sure that you do actually have some of the original colour in there, which is going to be unwatered down. And then when you're good to go, we're just going to apply some water to our mix in the middle of the palette there. We want quite a wet solution. Okay, so just go onto that and then get your jar and then just pop that randomly onto there. Okay, just all the way around. As I said, that is quite a wet mix, which is exactly what we're after, which is going to give that nice verdigris type of effect. So again, just spin that all the way round, and just dab that into some of those nooks and crannies, just in case there is any or too much of the original copper coming through, and just go down to the bottom there. And as you can see, we've got a little bit of the lighter colour green coming through there as well. That's all going to add to the overall effect of this verdigris look. Let's just twist around, make sure you really go into those areas. Okay, just keep on twisting around. Okay, we're getting there. So really it's all about layering up the colours, and that's going to then help give that verdigris type look. And then once you've done that layer, then just dry it again. So what you need to do now, just grab your brush, okay, and we're just going to add the dark colour. But what we're going to do, just going to grab some out, we're going to put it on our glass mat this time, and we're just going to add a little bit of the black acrylic paint to that, so we just want it slightly darker. Okay, like so, not too much, that should just be enough. And then just give that a little bit of a mix in, like so. As you can see, that's now a lot darker than our original colour that we started off with, and that's exactly the sort of colouring we're going to want. So now we're going to just do a little bit of the dry brushing technique actually on there. Okay, so I'm just going to take quite a bit of the paint off my brush, and then just looking around the actual jar itself, just have a look at possibly where you consider the darker areas will possibly be, and then just go in there with your brush and just apply a little bit of that. So it's quite random again, so you don't have to be too precise, so just adding again around some of those moulded areas just to help bring them out. Okay, so just keep on going like that. Like I say, there's hardly any paint on my brush, it's just a case of building that up and just lightly just brushing that in. And already you can see that's the sort of effect that we're actually getting. So it's just helping to define some of the moulded area that's actually on our jar. Okay, so just keep on going. And then every so often just have a look and see where you maybe wanted it a little bit darker, and then just apply some of that really dark paint to that. Okay, so I think just a little bit more around here. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to use our brush there, and again I'm just going to add a little bit more water to water the paint down a little bit, and then we're just going to add a couple of little dabs just to add some of that darker colour to that, and again just around that side, and it sort of like merges it in a little bit. And just down there. And just like before, you're getting some of the lighter colour coming through there, which is no bad thing because it just helps break everything up. Okay, again, don't forget the bottom part. So just add a little bit of colour to that, and like we've done on every single occasion, just use the heat tool to speed up the drying process. So now we're just going to grab some white acrylic paint, and we're going to go directly onto our glass mat. Okay, and this is going to be very, very watered down indeed, because that is the sort of look that we actually want. So we've got a clean sponge brush here, and we really do want to make sure that is watered down really significantly. So basically you can't see any lumps of paint. It's more like a foam it's producing. Okay, so just quite quickly just go over the entire jar with that solution of watered down white acrylic paint. Okay, so just dab that on. The more foam the better it's going to be. Okay, that's when you know you've got the right type of paint. It's more of a foam than it is a paint. Okay, there we go. So once you've got to that stage, okay, like so, we are then just going to grab our water and we're just going to spray that down on straight onto the painted surface that we've just done. Okay, so just keep on going with that and then just go round a little bit like so. So just shaking off the water and some of the paint. Right, so now just dab some of that off. Okay, and it's going to take the majority of it off, but don't worry. So as I said, that's all what it is. It's about building the colours up to give it that verdigris type look. So if there's too much white in any area or the paint has started to run a little bit, then just go back in there. So that's a sort of effect. There we go. Again, just dry that and then perform exactly the same technique again using the watered down white paint. So I'm just going to grab some more and again just mix some up with plenty of water. Okay, just give that a real good spritz with water, again using the same sponge brush as before, and I'm just going to go directly onto there. Okay, just twist that round. And apply that watered down white acrylic paint over the whole lot. Okay. So what you can see I'm doing now, I'm actually taking off, okay, some of that white paint from the sponge. And then I'm going to just go back in round there. Okay, make sure you get into some of those nooks and crannies. Okay, go all around. Not going to worry too much about the bottom for the moment, because that's what we're holding on to. Okay, and then once again, just give it a couple of moments to dry, and when the coating is this thin, it doesn't take long to do that. Just going to add a little bit more to that part. And then we're just going to spray that like we did before. So a lot of that paint is going to come off, but it's going to add to the overall finish that we're after. Okay. Right, so I'm just going to get a clean piece of kitchen cloth now, and I'm just going to dab that like we did before. Twisting it as we go. So just want a little bit of that white just to remain there as well. Okay. So just make sure you're not going to get any runs of the white paint on there. Okay, so that's the sort of look that you're after. And then just quickly, before we get any more runs, we're just going to dry that off. Okay, so that's really starting now to look quite old. It's got a really nice mottled effect on there as well. So I'm just going to go over that. Again, just have a look to see what you've done. If there's any areas that you think need a little bit more white paint, then now is the time to do it. Okay, so let's just go for the watered down look there. So this is now really watered, and I do mean it's watered down. It's basically the drips of the paint that actually came off. It's all about just adding the layers just to give it that aged look. Okay. So what we're going to do this time, we're just going to dry that. Let's go there with the heat tool just to start with. Okay. So we're wanting it not completely dry, but just enough to start drying some of that white paint on there. Okay, and then just using a kitchen cloth, there we go, just go around and just dab on. That's going to add a little bit more texture to it as well. And likewise the bottom. Never ever forget the bottom if you want to do an all over job. Okay, there is our very verdigris jar as it stands. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're just going to pop that aside, we're going to have a clean up, then we're going to come back and actually finish this one off. So this is our verdigris jar, and as you can see there's lots of colour that's gone into building that up, and that's what it's all about. It's building up the colour. Don't think you can just do it in one foul swoop, because it's not going to work. So all that's left now is to use our original colour that was our undercoat, and that's just to brush in some areas just on the moulded parts, and maybe around the edges, the shoulder of the jar and at the bottom there. So it's almost going to give the impression that it's been touched and handled a lot, and the verdigris is like rubbed away. So let's just do that. So I'm just going to grab some there. Make sure the brush is pretty dry to start with. So I'm just going to grab some kitchen cloth. Okay, and then just onto our glass mat. So just make sure that is dry as well. And work with as little paint as you possibly can. Okay, so let's just go around just very lightly, and it's literally just adding a little bit of paint to the very highest point of the moulded areas, and like I say, would just give it that impression that it's been sort of like touched or rubbed up against quite a lot, so it has retained its shininess. Okay, so just again, just build it up. Don't think you can do it in one go. It doesn't work like that, aging things. So onto there, and straight away, you know, that's the type of effect that you're going to get. So it's just light strokes of the brush, and I still haven't added any more of that original colour onto my mat, to my glass mat. So it's very little of the paint that you actually need. So just keep on stepping back from it, having a look where you think more needs to go, and just using that dry brush technique with virtually no paint actually on your brush, and just lightly just keep on brushing over those moulded areas just to highlight the beautiful texture that's inside the moulds. Okay, and then also onto the shoulder of the jar as well, so you can see literally there's nothing on my brush at all hardly, and it's just picking up on the shoulder of that jar, and I'm just going round all the way, twisting the jar and just adding that tiny little bit of colour all the time, so just to highlight and give a little bit of interest. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, that's looking pretty nice, so I'm now going to add a little bit more of that original colour, and that's why I only add a small amount at a time, then you won't go and add too much colour to your project at a time as well. So again, it's just light brush technique, going all the way around on the shoulder of that jar. Okay, so that is our verdigris look jar, and I think it's pretty much done. So let's just bring this one up so you can see just that light brushing of the copper, metallic copper paint there, just accentuates all of the detail on the moulded areas, and also just the shoulder and the bottom part of the jar. So all that's left now is just to add some rustic string around the top, and then we're done. So we just have some garden string, we have a hot glue gun, and we're going to start just wrapping this round. So just add a little bit of hot glue onto there, like so, and then just put your first piece of string there, give it a twist around, then every so often I just add a little bit more hot glue just in a couple of places, just to hold the string in place. Okay. And then once you've got the first layer done, then just go round and then just keep on adding that string, and every so often just adding a little bit of the hot glue just so it stays in situ. Okay, and then down there we're going to go for 2 complete layers of the string as well, just so it covers everything. Okay, just pop that into there and just go all the way around. Okay, and then one last bit, I always like to make it so the join is around the back of the jar, or to one side at least. So we're just going to go up here, let's just stick that in there, and into there, and then just press that. I always wipe off the hot glue where you don't want it, and just hold that in position, and then we're just going to cut that like so. Okay, right, so let's just have a little bit of a tidy up. If you've got any loose ends of the hot glue, then just use a heat tool just to melt them off. So just to tone it down a little bit, I'm just going to use some brown acrylic paint just to make it a little bit darker. And I do mean just a little bit. Okay, like so, just to give that a slightly darker look to it, and just give that a little bit of a mix. Okay, like that, just to tone it down a little bit. That's a nice colour brown. Okay, and then like before, okay, just dry brush that onto our garden string just to tone it all down. And then I'm just going to add just some black. Okay, and this is going to be very, very watered down again. So it's all about just layering things up so they work. Let's just have a look. I'm going to use the same brush here. Okay, just make sure that is really watered down quite sufficiently. Okay, so it's going to just add to the aging process. So don't let it dry for too long. Okay, just making the string look mucky. Just go into there. Just wipe that off the jar itself. So again, just onto the string, dab it off. So it's not that just consistent colour of brown. Some of the copper flecks are going to show through there, which is exactly what we want. I'm going to add a few more over the top as well. Okay. Let's just keep on going all the way around. Okay, that's toning in pretty nicely now. And don't forget the underside of that string down there as well. It's just a little bit of black on that. A bit more of that copper colour. So just onto our mat, and then just a couple of flecks of it there. Just to help it tone in with the copper on the project. And again, just to help break up the colour and give that a nice aged look. You can see how little of that paint you need. Okay, and there is our jar finished.